Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is April the 8th, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, with high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. So far, the week treated me very well. You know, it's the freaking weekend, baby. Hopefully, I'm going to have me some fun. That's the plan, anyway. Let's see, Food Corner. I did go to Mellow Mushroom last night. It was very yummy. I got a small pepperoni pizza, and I got a order of cheese bread with what is it? Marinara sauce. No beer cheese, sadly. Womp womp. But yum, still good. And then also, I got to try the mushroom soup that they had at Mellow Mushroom. So that was like, oh, okay, because they do have a lentil soup. They also have a chili, I believe, like a white bean chili situation. So the soup was yummy. I will give it the grade of good soup. It qualifies. And then I finally got to try salad, which something I got to note about salads that I like is when you get the cheeses on it that are like nice, like the thin cut, like blocky, not blocky, but like it's like the flaky flat thing. For some reason, that aesthetic really gets me. Also, like crumbled feta over salad is nice. Like it's aesthetically yummy for my eyes and my tummy. So good checks on that. It was nice to know. Pretty good. Good dinner. Other than that, nothing too much else to report, so we can kind of get right into the news. Let's see here from Al Jazeera. Israel launches air raids on Gaza, Lebanon. Israeli army says it's striking in Lebanon following air attacks on Gaza amid rising tension in wake of Alaska raids. Now, during this time of the year, which has kind of been like, obviously it's been going on very, 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 very long time. But with the culmination of Ramadan ending, also with Easter Sunday, which is actually a non-factor here. I only mention it because I'm, a fucking Westerner, and I think, there are Christians in the area, but it's very minor here, and for this article story, whatever. But then also there is Passover, and all of this is kind of culminating in, Jerusalem and a very holy area, a bunch of holy areas, and this Alaska Mosque is like a big center point for a lot of attention. A lot of people are doing things, a lot of like religious activities. Now, I believe that there are people who are either staying as an act of protest or just to make sure that they could, do their religious ceremonies, what have you. They were, I don't want to say protesting. They were like literally, they was there overnight. They were staying overnight to do the things that they would normally be doing. As well as I think it's been reported that there were people who were like either Hamas or what have you, and they were in the area as well. So doing all this kind of prompted raids that I believe took place twice at this mosque during the week, and they were like recorded, or at least one of them were. And I know that there was a lot of ire from just the abuse that was put out on people. There were like stun grenades, just a lot of violence, but it's been kind of explained that like, oh, well, these people were, they were doing like security here. Like they were essentially saying these people were a threat. We were neutralizing the threat, and they were going to be violent. They were planning on doing like strikes. They were planning. And that's why it's so murky. Like it's so hard to get news out of this, because when you wade into the situation, you have to know a lot of the perspective, which is something my dumbass does not, even though I try and I try. Then you also have to go through all the spin. That's why I wound up on Al Jazeera. Initially, I looked at a couple others, and I'm reading, but I'm like, this isn't fully lining up with what I heard throughout the week listening to other things. So I'm like, let me just go to Al Jazeera, and I'll just kind of run it from there. But it's one of those things where it's hard to pull out. Like I do believe that it is easy to see the truth. A lot of the shit is on camera. You can see what's happening. It goes point to point to point. that being said, I mean, you can understand the logic of like these are tit for tat situations. And with Benjamin Netanyahu, it is, the situation where it's like, hey, we are going to respond to violence that is done from us. So essentially, there were missile strikes that came from Lebanon. They were able to track from where they came from. They didn't hit anyone, but naturally, I think they shot like 25, 4 actually landed in Israel. So that prompted all this retaliation, all this investigation. They're on the streets, they're knocking heads, they're in the area. Now, they said that Israel's air raids back, theirs were targeted. They only hit certain areas like military camps, places where they suspected terrorists. But it was reported, at least by Al Jazeera, that even hospitals and other like neighborhood infrastructures were hit. So clearly this shit wasn't perfect. Granted, I don't think there was any casualties on either side in that regard, so that's good. But naturally, like I said, back to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, it just became this flashpoint for a lot of tension and aggression. The latest raids come amid rising tensions over the storming of Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem by Israeli troops, who fired stun grenades, attacked Palestinian worshippers, and expelled them from the holy site as they gathered for Ramadan prayers. The Muslim holy month coincides with Passover, a key holiday in the Jewish calendar, as well as the Christian festival of Easter. See, there you go. Yeah. But yeah, that is more or less what I wanted to cover there. There's also another story that took place here I wanted to cover from Reuters. 2 Israeli sisters killed in West Bank shooting attack. I believe this took place Friday. Yes. I believe the air raid took place early Friday morning. At least just for like a little bit of timelining there. 2 Israeli sisters were killed on Friday in a shooting attack on their car in the occupied West Bank, Israeli authorities said. The attack took place with Israel on high alert in Jerusalem after a day of violence along the Lebanese and Gaza borders. I believe that they also had dual citizenship. The sisters, who were 16 and 20, died, and their mother sustained serious wounds. But they were also British citizens, according to Britain's Foreign, Commonwealth, and Development Office. It called for all parties to de-escalate tensions. Also, America is being like, hey guys, let's all chill out, let's relax. But, okay, that's going to fall on deaf ears here, I think. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I know that's bad. I know that's bad for podcasting. I'm so sorry. Let's see. That's really, though, all I wanted to cover. I know that is just a snapshot. But as always, I try to do my best to at least talk about the big things that are going on. And in this kind of situation, I feel like I'm just shoving my hand in like a really fast current. Just trying to tell you a little bit about what's up. But in some other news, still keeping international, but we are doing a little bit of USA. From NBC News, U.S. lawmakers arrive in Taiwan as China blasts McCarthy meeting with Tsai. Representative Michael McCall, head of the Foreign Affairs Committee, is leading a bipartisan, which I love that. It's bipartisan. I love how we can get together on things like this. Congressional delegation to the island as its president returns from the U.S. So Tsai Tingzing, or I'm gonna get it. Tsai Ing-wen, I think I got it there, who is the president of Taiwan. She was on a diplomatic trip. She also hit Japan and South Korea, but each way I think she stopped in the U.S. One of the times she did stop with President McCarthy, and kind of like a Nancy Pelosi style situation with the same amount of controversy involved here. because naturally China, which does not recognize Taiwan as like a sovereign country, as an independent nation, they're like, you're part of us. They don't like any of this. So this whole diplomatic campaign is not what they want. Now, also China has gone out of their way to push their alliances to be like, hey, you don't recognize Taiwan, right? Like they're not like they're us. Like you're if you ever interact with them, you're acting around with us. So there's a bit of this campaign is to reinforce the alliance with the allies that Taiwan still has, because they have kind of lost a bit of steam over time here in the situation, because China is doing a lot to influence the world to say, hey, like, look, this is our, this is ours. Now, I mean, that's obviously a whole debate that you can have, but, I do get the logic here in the sense of China saying, hey, this diplomatic campaign, we don't want to see it. We don't like it. And with the U.S. being a strong ally here, because, they have a lot of interest, a lot of, at least with chips, and I don't mean snack chips, yummy, yummy, yummy. I mean, like, tech chips, supercomputers, you make power your thing, yeah, ooh, technology chips. Taiwan is a big producer of those things. So we have strong, just interest in economic ties. Plus, it's just an area that we can have to be like right under China or right next to China and be like, hey, we're here. You got to worry about us. We got a foothold where you're at. So, I think that there's not much to really report here, but it is interesting that it's all happening. I don't think when it came to McCarthy and to Tsai, I don't think they talked about anything that was super relevant. They chattered. I don't know if I think there was other congressmen involved, 2 other Republicans. It was just a Republican version of what Nancy Pelosi did, just just pound for pound. And then they added with the diplomatic visit. There's also other. They mentioned them here. Let me get to the end of the article. Representative French Hill, Arkansas, Republican. Michael Lawler, Republican from New York. Amy Berra, Democrat from California. Young Kim, a Republican from California. Nathaniel Moran, blah, 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 blah. These are nobodies. I don't give a shit about any of them. I don't care. I'm not even going to finish the rest of their names. But yeah, they got to do a little vacation. Obviously, like I said, China does not want to see this shit. They have, railed against it. And they take it to usually where they, this is kind of their maximum as of right now, which is China sent 28 warplanes across the median line of the Taiwan Strait on Sunday as Beijing conducted its first large-scale military exercises around the island this year. That was from Taiwan's Defense Ministry and also CNN. So yeah, that's going on there. Wanted to cover that. Also, real quick, let's go ahead and get in some Supreme Court news from the Associated Press. The Supreme Court, let me read the title, getting ahead of myself. Court says trans girl can run girls track in West Virginia. The Supreme Court on Thursday allowed a 12-year-old transgender girl in West Virginia to continue competing on her middle school's girls sports teams while a lawsuit over the state ban continues. Those S's were killing me. The justices refused to disturb an appeals court order that made it possible for the girl, Becky Pepper Jackson, to continue playing on her school's track and cross-country teams, where she regularly finishes near the back of the pack. My God. I get so sad reading them because it's like, why do you have to include that? But I understand why they have to include this, because at the end of the day, people get so fucking upset about the idea of someone who is changed who they are, and because of that change, they go, oh, you have this, and in the sports sense, they're like, now you have this unfair advantage. You went through puberty, you were a man, and because of that, you're so strong. Oh, this is unfair. Like, you're just gonna beat up everyone. When literally, when you look at the statistics, that is just not a thing. It is very uncommon. And then the times that it does come up, people lose their minds over it. And then you literally have to go through this person's backstories to talk about this, and they have to go and they say, hey, for the longest time, I had to literally endure my whole transition, which is not easy. The whole process is not easy. They finally go through this whole struggle. They make it happen, and then they have a good run. They actually get to excel in their sport, and they are punished for that. And then they take that as an example to do these sweeping ass legislations. Now, that being said, you can kind of say, well, this is like a dub, right? At least for, Becky, they're able to finish out and she can, still keep competing. But that is as long as this lawsuit is probably going to allow. Once West Virginia wraps it up, she's not going to be able to, because it's going to be a state issue and they're going to be like, oh, the state says. So let's see, Justice Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas, which Clarence Thomas, we're going to get to him at some point. If not on the main, we're going to go on the Patreon. A little bit of talk about that man. Yeah. But that being said, they would have allowed West Virginia to enforce its law against Pepper Jackson. They would have been like, you can go for it. But the appeal is kind of keeping this in play, so she's able to play. So I want to talk about that. It's a bit of a silver lining, but it's tinged. I dislike talking about this shit because it just feels like conservative-minded thoughts just keep winning out on this conversation. And whenever I have conversations with people, like where I live, it's just such an uphill conversation in so many ways to get them to get it. And it's a very frustrating thing. Let's see. We can move along. We're on from Good Morning America, which I gotta say, the way they have their site set up, it's way too poppy. Too poppy for me. I don't like it. At least for this right now. Johnson & Johnson to pay $8.9 billion to settle claims by baby powder, or to settle claims baby powder, other talc products caused cancer. I'm tongue-tied today. Johnson & Johnson announced Tuesday that the company has agreed to pay $8.9 billion, with a B, over 25 years to settle all current and future claims that the company's baby powder and other cosmetic talc products allegedly caused cancer. Now, I'm not sure if I cover this. I want to say that the lawsuit took place in like 2021. But that being said, I know I heard a bit of this from like Swindled or something like that. So it cued me into the story, and this is a bit of an update either for me or for all of us. Now, I gotta say, when I heard $8.9 billion, as always, my poor lizard brain goes, oh, that's a lot of money, right? I mean, that's a lot of money. But obviously, you finish the sentence and you say over 25 years, and everybody goes, well, that's a long time. That's a chunk of living to get that much money. Then you also have to mention this is a big lawsuit that's going to trickle down. And also, let's look. I got it here. This is a quick thing. CA Knowledge. I don't know, just a random site I got this from. The net worth of Johnson & Johnson is approximately $90 billion. A lot of fucking money. Also, to talk about, that $90 billion company was trying to file for bankruptcies. And they were trying to be like, oh, well, there's just so much going on right now. Everyone's trying to sue us. And with all these lawsuits, we'll literally go bankrupt. And they're like, you're going to be fine. You have $90 billion. So they had to take the hit here, which then made them scramble to just say, fuck it, dude. Like, let's just do this fucking, I think what it's like called the tort system or whatever. And essentially just said, hey, we'll pay you this much. And it was enough to make this all go away. But they don't have to say sorry. They don't have to claim liability. And they don't have to cop to any future, like, cancer lawsuits or anything on this issue. They just get to skate away. $8.9 billion. But that's nothing to them. That's nothing to them. Over this amount of time, they're going to make it up. And the shittiest way they're going to make it up? On the products that they're selling to us. So it's like nothing. It's light work. It's another day at the office. I love America. I love it. I love it. I love it. You can get away with everything if you just have enough money to do it legally. I feel like that's going to be a big theme for the podcast next year and some change. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong there. Hopefully we'll have some surprises. But speaking of surprises, a deal got struck this week. It's pretty major. But I'm going to take my break, and then we'll finish this out. All right. From Axios, UFC owner Endeavor to acquire WWE in $9.3 billion deal. I'm saying a lot of billions today. Billionaire Boys Club over here. That's a clothing brand, if you haven't heard of it. We're not getting into it. That's for another podcast. Endeavor, the sports and entertainment company led by Ari Emanuel, has acquired World Wrestling Entertainment in a deal valuing the WWE at $9.3 billion. The companies announced Monday. So, it's a pretty interesting deal. I didn't know that the UFC was owned by this Endeavor group. They were acquired in 2016. Worth north of $20 billion. So much money. Now, they are going to rebrand the companies now. Endeavor plans to spin out the combined company, which has yet to be named, on the public market. It is expected to trade under the moniker TKO. TKO! UFC is valued at $2.1 billion, and we're talking like stock value deals because that's all. This is how this was all traded and worked out. And the WWE is valued at $9.3 billion. When the deal closes, Endeavor will hold 51% controlling interest in the newly combined company, and WWE shareholders will hold the remaining 49%. Endeavor will appoint 6 board seats, and the WWE will appoint 5. The new company is expected to be led by Endeavor CEO Ariel Emanuel. Vince McMahon is expected to serve as the executive chair of the board, the company said. Endeavor's Mark Shapiro is expected to continue his role as president and as chief operating officer. Also, to add, Dana White is still going to be the UFC president. Nothing's changing there. He did say that he did meet with them. They've talked and shit. But yeah, I mean, this is big news. It also kind of lines up to, obviously we've talked that WWE has been in the market. They've been looking to sell, especially, with Vince McMahon on the come up. That was kind of the last thing, or come back. Now, I was surprised, and I feel like this was a little bit of a long con. Not long con. No, we could say con a little bit here. Because it was almost like Vince McMahon, sports washed himself. And what I mean by that is, he had the whole sexual allegations and all this kind of shit, the harassment bull, that all was going down. He was on the spotlight, on the block for that. Then he did the whole thing that business CEOs do to try to cover their ass is, we have a third party come in and investigate this whole thing, and I'm stepping down. And so he steps down. Then he comes back with his little mustache and says, hey, I'm not running things per se, but I'm back, I'm on the board or whatever. And now he's going to be chairman of this brand new company, which is the same company. But it's like, I'm sure he's made some money here in some capacity. But I think that might have been one of the perks here, where it's like, hey, I still get to be involved. I still get to get some camera time from time to time. Places for his family, so they can keep getting some bread, get some money here. Everyone's going to keep eating. Also, I think this lines up to try to more legitimize the WWE in the sense of we're trying to get the sports betting thing legal so that we can start betting on wrestling, because that'll be cute. That'll be fun. We've talked about that a little bit in past episodes. You want to get across that if you've missed it. New listeners, maybe. But yeah, these are definitely interesting times. I really, if you would have asked me, I would have said my money is on Saudi Arabia still getting involved in buying up the WWE. But looks like no. Looks like it's going to be Endeavor. So we'll see where that goes. Which, I don't know. Maybe I'm dumb as hell and someone could already tell me, like, oh, that's Saudi money, you idiot. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. I just didn't look it up, so I can't confirm it. You know what I mean? But who knows? Interesting times. I wish I could say I'm still into wrestling, but I definitely respect it and love it from like afar. I know whenever there's like a WrestleMania shit's popping off, it's always very chaotic, and that's always cool to like see like clips and highlights, things like that. But yeah, other than that, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you would like to support the podcast, patreon.com/Isaiah News. Let's see, you get bonus content. I do extra episodes every week. Also, hot link to the Discord, but the Discord is free. Just hit me up for that. And you can become a newsie. And once a month, I'll give you a shout out, say your name, and also plug whatever cool thing you're doing or any news thing you'd like me to talk about, what have you. Now, free ways to hit me up, though, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. You can send me any cool news stories, just like the newsies. I'll take them, give them to me. Yummy, yummy, yummy. I love news, love talking about news. Also, if you want to give me feedback, that's cool. Hopefully it's positive. I like positive feedback. That's always nice and neat. But if you don't like to email people, I get that. I'm also on the internet. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I'm everywhere. Everywhere you want to be. Just hit me up. So that's all I got. Hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.